The room goes quiet, and somehow your mind gets louder. You waited all day for this. A closed door, a finished list, a few minutes where nothing is asking you to respond, explain, hurry, or hold yourself together. And then, almost as soon as the outside world settles, something inside you starts moving. Thoughts rise up. Small ones first, then sharper ones. Then the kind that feel as if they were waiting for the room to finally empty before they could speak. It feels wrong somehow. You thought quiet would feel like relief. You thought stillness would soften something. But the quieter life gets around you, the more crowded it becomes inside you. So you reach for something. Your phone, a video, a podcast, a small task that could have waited until tomorrow. And the strange thing is, you are doing it to rest. You are adding noise because the quiet started feeling too loud. But the quiet did not make your mind noisy. It simply removed everything that had been covering the noise. All day, your mind was already running. Under the messages, under the conversations, under the small decisions, under the moments where you smiled, nodded, answered, moved on, and pretended you were fully present. There was another layer underneath it all. Quiet but active. Carrying things you did not have time to feel while they were happening. You could not hear it clearly because the day was louder. The world kept giving you something else to look at, something else to solve, something else to become busy with. Then the day stopped, and what had been underneath became the only sound left. That is why it can happen in the car after work, when you turn the engine off and just sit there for a few seconds. Or when you lie down at night and the room finally stops moving. Or when you sit on the couch with nothing urgent left to do, and somehow that freedom does not feel peaceful. Your mind did not suddenly wake up. It had been awake the whole time. You just lost the distraction that was loud enough to cover it. And the things that come up are not always big. That is what makes it so frustrating. You expect the noise to be about serious problems. The things that would make sense. The things that would justify why your body feels tense when everything around you is calm. But often, it is the small residue of the day. The sentence you wish you had said differently. The message that felt colder than usual. The look on someone's face that you still cannot read. The moment you felt slightly behind, slightly judged, slightly exposed. Nothing dramatic happened, but something stayed open. And your mind keeps returning to open things. Not because they are always important, because they were never finished. All day, you move past moments before your body has had time to land inside them. Something happens. You absorb it. You keep going. Something else happens. You absorb that too. And because life does not pause every time something affects you, your mind quietly stacks the unfinished pieces somewhere in the background. Then the room gets still. And everything you stepped over during the day starts asking for space. That can feel like an ambush. Like your own mind waited until the first peaceful moment to ruin it. But it is not trying to ruin the peace. It is using the first space it has been given. This is where the exhaustion becomes confusing. Because part of you really does want quiet. You want fewer demands, less talking, less pressure, less noise around you. But another part of you has learned that quiet is where everything catches up. So stillness does not feel completely safe. It feels like the place where you are finally alone with what you have been avoiding. That is why you can crave rest all day, then avoid it when it finally arrives. You are tired of being stimulated, but you are also nervous about what appears when the stimulation stops. So, you fill the gap. Not because you are weak, not because you do not know how to relax, but because your system has learned a simple pattern. When the quiet gets too loud, cover it again. And then the thoughts start arriving with pressure attached to them. They do not simply appear. They arrive as if they need something from you. Fix this, understand this, prepare for this, replay this until it finally makes sense. But the urgency is not always real. Sometimes it only feels urgent because it has been waiting all day to be noticed. A thought that was pushed aside at noon can feel like an emergency at night, not because it became more important, but because there is finally nothing else competing with it. And then another layer appears. You notice that your mind is loud. Then you start worrying about why it is loud. Then you worry that you will not sleep. Then you worry that tomorrow will be harder because you are not sleeping. Then the original thought is no longer the whole problem. Now the worry has started worrying about itself. That is often the part that makes the quiet feel unbearable. Not only the first wave of thoughts, but the fear that the wave will not stop. So you try to think your way out. You search for the sentence, the conclusion, the answer that will finally let your mind put everything down. But some of what comes up at night is not asking for an answer. It is asking to be felt for a moment without being chased. That is difficult when you are tired, because a tired mind wants closure fast. It wants the reason, the lesson, the plan, the explanation. But some moments do not close because you solve them. They close because your body finally believes the moment is over. The replay is often an attempt to create an ending. You go back to the conversation, the message, the mistake, the possible future, because some part of you is still looking for a place to land. And when there is no clean ending, the mind circles. It keeps touching the same place, the way your tongue keeps finding a sore tooth. Not because touching it helps, because something in you keeps checking whether it still hurts. Then, underneath all of this, a quiet comparison begins. Other people seem able to stop. They close the laptop and the day ends. They lie down and sleep. They sit in silence and somehow do not turn it into another room full of thoughts. So you begin to feel like something is wrong with you. Like your mind has a broken switch. Like peace is available to everyone else, but not to you. But a loud mind in a quiet room is not always a broken mind. Sometimes it is a mind that had no space to finish the day while the day was happening. The noise is not proof that you failed at resting. It may simply be the sound of everything you carried finally reaching the surface. Every postponed feeling, every half-processed moment, every small tension you swallowed because there was no time to stop. Every little thing you told yourself did not matter, even though your body still kept the receipt. That is why forcing silence rarely works. You cannot command the mind to be empty after giving it no room all day. A full day does not disappear the moment the lights go off. It takes time for the nervous system to understand that nothing else is needed from it right now. And sometimes the first stage of settling does not feel peaceful. It feels messy, crowded, uneven, too loud for something that was supposed to be rest. But that does not mean the quiet failed. It means the quiet finally made room for what the day kept pushing aside. You do not have to empty the whole pile tonight. You do not have to answer every thought before you are allowed to rest. You do not have to prove that the room is silent before you can let your body soften. Some loops can stay open. Some questions can wait. Some moments can remain unfinished without becoming emergencies. The mind may still talk. The room may still feel louder than you expected. But you do not have to treat every sound inside you like a command. You can hear it as a mind catching up. A mind that worked hard to get through the day. A mind that is only now putting down what it had to carry quietly. And setting things down is rarely instant. A day that took hours to fill will not empty in 1 minute. So the next time the room goes still and your mind seems to get louder, try to hear it a little differently. Not as proof that peace is impossible for you. Not as proof that something inside you is wrong. Just as the sound of a day finally landing. Late. Messy. Louder than you wanted. But no longer hidden underneath everything else. The quiet was not the enemy of your rest. It was the first honest space you had been given all day. And the noise inside it was not there to defeat you. It was everything you carried, finally becoming clear enough to be heard. Perhaps the change you were searching for was never outside of you. Perhaps it was always waiting for this moment of stillness. So for now, stop pushing, stop chasing, and simply remain here, because something within you already knows the way.